I posted on this subreddit in the past. You can check my profile to read about the advice I wanted regarding the graduation and bringing my boyfriend as a good friend. Well, my parents found out and they were not happy. My mother, F45, started saying how I betrayed her and that I ruined my life for having a boyfriend, saying that she won't be responsible for taking care of grandchildren. I'm not sexually active with my BF, and if I were to be in the future, I'm not too stupid to do it without double protection. My dad was nice to me at first, but only did that so he could get intel on my partner and see how he could keep him away from me. Then for the next couple of days, they would lecture me for 3 hours a day, accusing me of being a prostitute, riding on a man's D ***ck. Yeah, they said that, while lying to them. I was going to school, and I'm graduating with honors as a college student, FYI. Then when I'd bring up how they threatened to kick me out if I told them that I was dating, they said they never said that, and that I was making that up. So it does not justify me hiding my relationship from them. However, my friends say they are simply gaslighting me because even they remember when I told them about my parents' comments. I called a crisis hotline twice within 3 days, and my friends kept checking up on me to ensure I didn't harm myself. Then, on a Friday evening, before my parents left to my aunt's, and right as I came back from work, they decided to give me another one of their lectures, and I told them I was feeling depressed, which my dad said that my boyfriend is the cause of my depression, and I have to break up with him. I told them they were the cause of it, not my boyfriend, which they then began yelling at me, saying how ungrateful I am, because I have no right to be sad compared to them. I wanted to sob and stay in my room, and I decided that once they would leave, as an emergency option in case things escalate over time, I would get essentials and keep it ready if I had to leave. Well, my dad sped up that process, saying I had to get in that car, and I was never allowed to date, as well as not work, and be driven to grad school, until I leave this household. I refused to get into the car, so he took out a belt and threatened to beat me if I didn't get in. So I simply grabbed my work bag and walked out. Minutes later I called my friends and told them of the situation, and they all said I did the right thing. My boyfriend even let me sleep over with his family for a few days until my aunt offered to secretly let me stay in her home for the time being, until I find a room to live or rent in. I'm scared I've completely burned the relationship I had with my parents. My mom keeps begging me to come back. My dad has only said he will cut my phone line, which I can pay anyways. I want them to understand that this perhaps will do me and them good. I would like to have a relationship with them in the future once I've settled into a place and continue doing my schooling. I wouldn't know how to approach that. I don't even know how I'd talk to them after this whole fiasco occurred. All I know is that I'd rather be homeless than live with them again, but I still care about them. How would I do that in the future? TL. Doctor, I ran away from home at 21, and I don't know if I can ever go back or simply keep a relationship with my parents. Edit. I forgot to give more context on my situation as well. I'm a full-time student still. I'm doing a 2-year post-grad program soon to become a high school teacher while working part-time. My parents never paid for my schooling, but suggested I commute and stay with them until I'm done with school. I'm also not the first girl in my family to run away. Only difference is that most of my cousins ran away to live with their partner or got pregnant on purpose so their parents would kick them out because they couldn't stand it anymore. I fit none of that criteria, and my friends tell me they raised me basically sheltered from the real world. I'm struggling to know where I can go from here, but I do have support from a lot of people who are helping me find something for a student like me. Okay, so first, you didn't run away from home because you're 21 and a grown adult. Second, sorry but your parents are some crazy, controlling, lying pose. I would highly suggest maintaining a non-contact relationship with them, getting a therapist to help yourself work through the mental abuse you've clearly been through your entire life, and work on building healthy relationships with those that do support you. I hope maybe one day in the future you can have a relationship with your parents again, but it won't be soon. Quality comment. You can't run away from home at 21. You're an adult. You're allowed to pay taxes, date and get married without parents' permission. I 100% bet that if you rolled over they would scream at you when you hit 30s for not giving them grandkids. Like crazy. Don't expect much from them. It's great that your aunt is in your corner. Lock down your financials. You should be the only name on all of your bank accounts. None of how you have been treated by your parents in this situation is normal. You are not the one who burned the bridges here. Your parents did, by setting entirely unrealistic expectations. It is normal for a 21-year-old person to build their own life separate from their parents. Whether that means having a romantic relationship, moving to a different location, getting a job, or any, or all of those things. Your parents are the ones who are creating this drama, not you. Whether you can have a relationship with them or not in the future depends on whether or not they can ever accept that you are now an adult and that you are a separate individual from them. That is their fault, not yours. Be kind to yourself. In the months and years to come, as you get more distance from them, you are going to realize that you've been emotionally abused here and that you are the one in the right. Take care of yourself. At 21 you aren't running away, you are running to the full promise of adulthood. You are running to a future with love and support from people who care and respect you. And you are even running to a new healthier relationship with your parents by rejecting their attempts to imprison you in a sexless, loveless, perpetual childhood. By making them see they no longer control you. Perhaps one day you will open their eyes to seeing you as a real full-fledged adult and not just a disobedient subject. I'm sorry your parents have perpetuated this overbearing, destructive culture where the women in your family have to choose between being fully adult and self-actualized and having the support of their parents. It's nutty and self-destructive. I hope that when you have children, if you have children, you will choose to parent more wisely. I'm scared I've completely burned the relationship I had with my parents. You haven't burned anything. Your parents are horrible human beings, and from this, I see no reason to contact them. Try to get into therapy, where you can process this, and try to build your own life. The hardest part of being a conditioned and trained abuser is recognizing toxic relationships and excising these relationships and people from your life. Therapy and introspection can help a ton. Children run away from home. Adults move out. You're an adult. Who you date and what you do with your partner is none of your parents' business at all. It sounds like leaving home was the right thing to do. Get some therapeutic support and move on with your life. Your parents burned the relationship, not you. Your parents sound narcissistic and very verbally abusive. I'm sorry you were raised in such a toxic environment. You should get yourself into therapy to deal with all of this if you are able to. It doesn't sound like a relationship worth repairing. You didn't mess this up. They did. You're an adult. If you want to have sex with every man at your college campus, it isn't their business. Expecting a 21-year-old woman not to date is ridiculously unreasonable. And I agree that at 21 you aren't running away. You moved out. Get yourself a job, an apartment, and live your life. When you're ready, write a letter to your parents, detailing that their unreasonable expectations and emotional abuse, yeah, that's what these lectures and name calling are, have driven you away, and that you'll be willing to entertain the idea of letting them back into your life when they can treat you with respect like the adult you are. The fact they're so obsessed with her dating and sex life is fucking creepy. Before you make any moves towards reconciliation with your parents, you need to tell your father that if he ever even threatens to strike you again, you will go to the cops and mean it. Tell him you need compensation for that, maybe $5,000, before you'll see him again. As someone from a crazy family like yours, stay away from those psychos and never look back. It's going to be hard and very painful, but you have to if you want to live a happy and healthy life. I strongly suggest therapy with a trauma specialist or someone with extensive experience dealing with highly dysfunctional families, and take it one day at a time. It'll get better, but the pain, I'm afraid, has just started. Be careful and make sure your partner and friends are able to see your location at all times in case your parents try to kidnap you. Good luck. Why do you want to have a relationship with your abusers? For real. Dad threatening a 21-year woman with a belt, crass verbal abuse. These people are trying to ruin Op's sex life before it even begins. You're an adult. You can't run away from home. You can decide to be self-sufficient and live on your own, or you can stay with your parents. You don't run away at 21. You get away from an abusive situation. You've done that. Don't go back. Why aren't you calling the police on them? Jesus Christ, they tried to assault you. I'm scared I've completely burned the relationship I had with my parents. Sometimes you have burned things down so something good can grow from the ashes. It's pretty well established that your parents are horrible people, but the only way you can ever hope to have any kind of normal relationship with them is for you to force them to accept that you're an adult. On some level, I think you need to realize it too. I think you need to look at this differently. Let's pretend you got what you think is a wonderful job at the widget company working for Mr. Piddles. Mr. Piddles decides your boyfriend is bad for you and decreasing your productivity. He threatens to fire you if you don't leave him. Then he threatens to hit you if you don't leave him. What would you? The only reasonable answers are some single or combination of the following: 1. Quit. 2. Kick Mr. Piddles in the nuts then quit. 3. Call the police and report Mr. Piddles. By no means would you try to reconcile with him and have an ongoing relationship with him. Why should it be different if the R is your mother or father? They have lost the right to have a relationship with you because they are abusive. Don't let the fact that you share some DNA with them make you feel like you must have a relationship with them. You should not want to keep a relationship with someone who threatened to assault you. It's wholly telling how they view having a boyfriend as shirking your education to pop out babies. Your parents can only see you as extensions of themselves. Any personal failings they might have are being projected onto your choices. I have an aunt who treated my cousin very similar to what you've described, calling any relationship a disgrace, any curfew break, as if she had gone out to do heroin, etc. She cold dated their pastor's son and my aunt still called it immoral. It turned out that when my aunt was a teenager, *SH had done drugs and got pregnant in HS*. All of those fears were simply projections of her own failures and insecurities and had nothing to do with what my cousin actually got up to. As an adult child, the main leverage you have over your parents is your presence in their lives. Don't fear their disapproval. Make them fear yours. If they were being even somewhat reasonable, I wouldn't say this, but they are not. You, an adult, decide who you keep relationships with. You, an adult, make your own choices to lead your adult life. You, an adult, need to understand that if you owe no one your subservience and should not give up your adult autonomy to your parents for bearing and raising you. You, an adult, need to cultivate relationships with people who respect you as an independent adult. You, an adult, may need to put barriers up to others until they get and respect this. You, an adult, will find occasional difficult or trying times in your romantic relationships, friendships, career, finances, and health. You, an adult, must realize that those periods do not mean you can't adult and therefore must submit your adulthood to other adults who want power over you. You, an adult, need to go forth and live your adult life with all the joys and trials that come with it. You, an adult, own this adventure. You have every right to live it. Do not retreat, curl back up, and confine yourself to other adults who aren't used to the idea their child is an adult and is overdue to leave the nest. You wrote in a different sub that your parents are Latin. I assume you mean from Latin America, and that's why they are abusive and controlling. No, your parents are abusive and controlling because they are abusive and controlling. My family is full of Latin parents who would sooner cut off their own hand than hurt their own child. You need to cut off your parents completely and totally because you are going to need that time to heal from their abuse and to forge the backbone that they spent 21 years pounding away at. If you ever decide to let them back into your life, don't do it unless they're sincerely beg for forgiveness and actually show you that they have changed. People forge found families every day. You can too. Oh, and get ironclad birth control. You can't repair this relationship. They're the ones who broke it and keep breaking it. Until they stop and make a sustained effort to do better, it will stay broken. There's nothing you can do because you're not the one at fault. I'm glad you have a support system that's independent of them. To call them messed up would be an understatement. Switch the phone, so you pay for it, and tell your mother this is a result of their actions. Then block them for a few months. Staying in school is the most important thing. Rent a room in an apartment and go to your school's financial aid office to see what kind of help you qualify for. My post-grad school program has a chance to be covered 100% by the school, but even if it's not, I saved almost double of the amount needed to cover the remaining 2 years of school. I'm realistic. I know I can't rent alone for sure as a student, so I've been looking for a room, as well as people who may want to move out too, and move in with me. Wow, this is insane. I left at 18 because my parents were controlling, and they weren't half as bad as yours. You are not a little girl and they can't tell you what to do anymore. You are a full-grown woman. Telling you that you can't date at your age is absolutely ridiculous. Run, girl, run. I know how difficult it is, because they are still your parents, and you still have love for them. All you want is for them to love and accept you. But it seems like they are struggling mentally and can't provide that at the moment. And that is not your problem to deal with. The best thing you can do right now is to live your own life. You need to cut them off for right now. I'm confident that you will thrive on your own. With time they might realize what a huge mistake they made by being abusive towards you, and hopefully in the future they will apologize and correct their behavior. But until then, you have leave and stop talking to them. I promise you will be so much happier with your own freedom.